Welcome everyone to the Hulk Hogan Tribute Show. I'm your host Mike Ambrose, and as you know, Hulk Hogan passed away Thursday of the age of 71, cardiac arrest. He had been dealing with a lot of health issues, and it's a big loss in the wrestling business. Without a doubt, he's the biggest star in American wrestling. I'm going to start off by his wrestling training. He grew up in Florida, trained with the Hero Matsuda, trained with champions in Tampa. First stint in the WWF. Now, this is back in 79. And WWF made it by Fred Blassie. He fought Ted DiBiase on the show. And I saw a lot of. He was there in 1980. Had matches with Andre the Giant at the time before their famous match we'll get to later. And then he ended up going to the AWA and New Japan. After his stint with WWF, he got to some heat because he did the Rocky 3, and Vince Sr., the father of Vince McMahon, didn't want him to be actually, he said, "You're a wrestler, you're not an actor." So, he said, "You're a wrestler, not an actor," to Hulk. So Hulk left, went to AWA, and then he worked New Japan. Gave a big star in both places. The AWA, the big draw, fight Nick Bockwinkel. Of course, very guy didn't want the title on him. He was the top foreign guy in New Japan. The first IWGP champion. They got his matches on YouTube for free on New Japan World if you want to watch. Actually, New Japan World, sorry. Rocky, and then he did Rocky 3. This was a turning point. He got in, Sylvester Stallone, and had a famous scene with him where he's Thunder Lips, throws Stallone around. It's a great famous scene. It's one of my favorite scenes in movies. I might have to watch it again. Went back to the WWF in late 83, because Vince McMahon making him the guy. He leaves AWA, double crosses Vern, like they'll say. But he left to go to New York. WWF beat the Iron Sheik for the WWF title on January 23rd, 1904. Hulkamania is here, born. The official kickoff of WrestleMania. Hulkamania, excuse me. WWF taken off like you wouldn't believe. This is when I first started to watch. I was 5 years old. Saw him on a show called PM Magazine. It's probably on YouTube. Segment of him and Mr. Fuji, and I was hooked. Larger-than-life characters. I've been a fan ever since. Hogan becomes a worldwide celebrity. He's on Johnny Carson's. TV shows, you name it. TV shows. He has his own cartoon show, Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling on CBS. He got the rub from Cyndi Lauper and Mr. T. WrestleMania 1. Everything else mentioned just came after WrestleMania 1. He got the cartoon show after WrestleMania 1. The success of it. Saturday Night's Main Event came on the scene after that. Of course, him and Roddy Piper had that big feud. But saw kicked on MTV. Professional wrestling's pop culture. The Rock and Wrestling Connection. Feud with Piper into WrestleMania 1, which is huge. Feud with King Kong Bundy there. Big feud with Paul Orndorff. Now we get to WrestleMania 3, the famous match with Andre the Giant. And Bobby Heenan was a big part of it, managing Andre. He was the spokesman for the whole thing. He was great. It's a cultural event. They say it was 9,173, but it was like 80,000. It's whatever. It's one of the biggest events of all time at the Pontiac Silverdome. WWF is on fire. They're number one like nobody's business. Drawing record across everywhere with Hogan on top. Everybody knows Hulk Hogan. You didn't have to be a wrestling fan to know who Hulk Hogan was. He was that iconic and that famous. Right there with your Michael Jacksons in the world. Michael J. Fox, your big actors. Any athlete. He was like Muhammad Ali, Babe Ruth, that type of figure. Transcended the sport. Sports entertainment, pro wrestling, whatever you call it. He transcends everything. Second match with Andre draw the largest television audience for a wrestling show in America. 33 million. You'll never see that record broke. Ted DiBiase tried to win a WWF title on the show. WrestleMania 4. The Mega Powers are aboard. Randy Savage, one of my favorite feuds of all time. Maybe the greatest story in WWE history with the Bloodline. The Mega Powers, story and feud. Randy's wife Elizabeth's a big part of it. One of the greatest storylines of all time. Culminates at WrestleMania 5 when Savage was the champion and the event against Hogan. Hogan was the belt back. At this time, Hogan feels no holds barred. The movie. Ultimate Warrior actually emerged as the next guy during this time. I was a fan of the Warrior, probably more than Hogan, I'll tell you. Showdown at WrestleMania 6, championship for champion, title for title. Warrior's the IC champ. Warrior with the WWF World Heavyweight title. He draws good, but not at level of Hogan. It was hard to replace Hogan. Hogan comes back, feud with the Earthquake, when the Earthquake broke his ribs. That went on. Hogan won that feud. WrestleMania 7, Battle Sergeant Slaughter, who became an Iraqi sympathizer, got a lot of heat for it. Was supposed to have that match at LA Coliseum, but wasn't selling well. They moved it into the sports arena there and wins back the title. WWF starts to slide a bit. You know, it's not as big. A lot of stuff. The steroids trials and scandals coming in, and Hogan's in a bad light. But other than that, you had Ric Flair come to the company. WWF, in my opinion, fails to probably build to a match between the two top guys. Should have been a WrestleMania 8 main event, but it didn't happen. Hogan leaves after WrestleMania 8 after he worked with Sid Justice. Hogan comes back at WrestleMania 9. Bret Hart's champion. He didn't want to work with Bret, legend says. Beats Yokozuna at WrestleMania 9 for his 5th WWF title. Hogan leaves after King of the Ring in June 1993. Makes appearances for New Japan towards this time. Hogan starts filming Thunder in Paradise at the Disney MGM Studios in Orlando. WCW at the same time, tapes that syndicated shows there. Overtures are made by Eric Bischoff and Ric Flair. Hogan signed with WCW in June 1994. Oh, by the way, I just got to show you my things here. I got this when I was 6 or 7. LJN Hogan figure, and this was I think it was only a Hasbro. I'll have to look it up, but from 1990, 89, 90, this was his 85, 86. He's one of the best, these LJN figures. I got a whole bunch of them I think I've shown you on previous episodes. So, syndicate shows. Overtures are made by Eric Bischoff and Ric Flair for Hogan to join WCW. And Ted Turner obviously owned WCW, TBS, all that. Hogan signed with WCW in June 1994. Wins the WCW World title at Bash at the Beach 1994. Hogan not well received WCW because he represented the other company, and WCW was gritty. I love WCW, so I was a Flair fan more than Hogan. I said it before. In the past, Flair was the best to me, in my opinion. Flair's the greatest of all time, in my opinion. But Hogan's probably the biggest superstar, no question about it. 1996, turning point for Hogan. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash jumped from WWF to WCW, declare war on WCW, billed as the Outsiders. Match takes place at Bash at the Beach, Daytona. Kevin Sullivan has to talk Hogan to turn heel. I brought this up on the tribute to Kevin Sullivan, if you want to read it, so you kind of know there. Hogan shows up during the match. Hogan drops his famous leg drop on Randy Savage. Hogan becomes a bad guy, joins Hall and Nash to form the NWO New World Order. Post-match promo with Gene Okerlund Redland. Everybody's throwing garbage in the ring. Gotta see it to believe it. The NWO revolutionized pro wrestling, realism in pro wrestling, becoming cool heels, which the NWO were. WCW becomes #1 in the world this time, surpass WWF. New members get into the group, sometimes watered down at times. Behind the scenes issue with Hall and Nash. Hall and Nash has said before, they wanted to make the Hogan money, that big money. Hogan had creative control, means he could controlled everything. Finishes stuff, built a Starcade, Hogan and Sting. 15-month build, Starcade, I said, the match elements, Hogan versus Sting. A lot of positives found with the counts, with Nick Patrick, you've seen him. You know, the throw 3 count, Bret Hart got involved. Sting wins, but not as decisively as he should have. Hogan becoming stale now. I think WWE's stolen a bit. Lose it. WWF was trying to pass it with Steve Austin. Loses WWE to Goldberg. Keeps himself in the top spot, though. Should have moved down the card at this time. January 4th, 1999, a big turning point for WCW, and after that, it's kind of where WCW started to go in a different direction. Hogan shells his half for the WCW title, old convoluted at the Georgia Dome. Hogan lost Goldberg beat Hogan at the Georgia Dome that time. Hogan chased Nash with the finger poking to him. Y'all know what that is. Boom, and he fall. He loses. WCW starts their downfall. WWF regains the top spot in pro wrestling by now, led by Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, DX. You know, Hogan is on sabbatical. Returns in the red and yellow. As you know, the red and yellow, his old babyface colors. Leaves again when Vince Russo and Ed Forever comes to WCW. That's a whole other show. The topic. I've done it on my Who Killed WCW shows. Eric Bischoff out as WCW president this time. So comes back in the 2000 to feud with Flair. Russo went Russo went home for a while. Russo comes back with Bischoff in April. Of 2000. Hogan and Russo have issues. Bash at the Beach 2000 fiasco. We've covered that in the WCW episodes. Hogan is done with WCW. We didn't see him in WCW after this. NWO comes to the WWF in 2002. Hogan back in WWF for the first time in 9 years. Hogan versus Rock at WrestleMania 18. The crowds cheer for Hogan, not Rock. What a spectacle. You gotta see it. Not the greatest match, but the crowd's into it is like nobody's business. Hogan turns back babyface. There's innovation everywhere now. He has match with Triple H, which he won the title from him for the 6th time WWF. Undertaker beat him for the title. Kurt Angle had a really good match with, I thought, the King of the Ring that year, 2002. And Brock Lesnar, who squeezed that was Brock to the monster. He had a match at WrestleMania 19 with Vince McMahon, battle of who made who. You know, they both needed each other. Vince and Hulk together. They were magic together. And WrestleMania time, Hogan wins. WWE Hall of Fame in 2005. He gets in, much deserved. He has a reality show, Hogan Knows Best. Didn't really watch it, but I must feel, Hogan's Hogan, his family's who they are. Match with Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam, which was pretty entertaining. Shawn's overselling like crazy because Hogan won. That's what Randy Orton at SummerSlam 2006. I think Hogan won that one. 2009 goes to 3 Day with Eric Bischoff. Doesn't really do much. It's kind of Dixie Carter was in over her head when she ran TNA. TNA's doing good now. That's great to know. Need more good wrestling companies. Eventually comes back to WWE in 2004. No, 2014, sorry. Controversy, he's like a goodwill ambassador, post WrestleMania 30. Controversy that followed him. Steroid trial I just mentioned. Says fight against McMahon in 94. The sex tape, of course, with Bubba the Love Sponge, and obviously the racial slurs that were on there, but, regardless of what you think of him, regardless of what you say, he's an icon. He's legacy. Biggest American pro wrestler of all time. And he's not even one of my favorites of all time. But I got the utmost respect for what he did for this business. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. When all of us weren't. And that's my thoughts on Hulk Hogan. We're going to do my regular Masterminds Wrestling Paradise maybe tomorrow or Tuesday, head into SummerSlam. Have a good night. God bless everybody. And what you going to do when Masterminds Wrestling Paradise runs wild on you?